With their fans. Welcome back, everybody. And joining me to take a look at the next matchup between Origen and Giants are the coaches for the Unicorns of Love and Roccat, Sheepy, and Yamato Cannon. First off, Yamato, thank you very much for joining us. Well, it must be difficult because that was not a good game for you guys.
I think it's fair to say that Baron is not our friend.
It isn't today, but sometimes Janko steals it, so, I mean, you never know. Well, we're gonna look at this match, though, and start by taking a look at the 9-3 Origen with Soaz, Amazing, Expeke, Niels, Mithy, and their coach, Leduc. Well, if we look at OG, they will most likely qualify for playoffs. I think they might be thinking of Worlds already. Just to reiterate for the people at home, they have to get there through or getting the most championship points, which will be quite difficult for them, or win the regional qualifier, or straight up win the whole summer split. Do you think that's the kind of mindset they're rolling with here? Because they never say it on the desk about the World's expectations.
It feels a bit unfair because I know the players personally pretty well. I feel like they're the type of people that would aim to just win the gauntlet. I think qualifying through championship points is very unlikely because H2K is doing so well, and also Unicorns of Love might come in there for the playoffs. Just to say that.
You guys are not out of it yet.
Yeah, as well, but we don't have the championship points. That's the point. And going for the first place is really hard with Fnatic being on fire. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think Fnatic has the best chances right now to take it if they keep the game that they are playing right now. And I think, yeah, I don't think OG is already thinking about Worlds and whatnot. Maybe we've heard things like that from Leduc before, that they are already looking for Worlds and whatnot, but I think that if they are the team that they are showing to be right now, they just want to win every game and take it one by one.
Yeah, they have looked strong on a lot of instances, but they dropped 3 games. 2 of those was versus the teams of you guys, versus Roccat. That was a very impressive win. Just last week, Unicorns of Love, and it was just a sloppy draft and kind of a sloppy game from the side of OG. So where do you think their weaknesses lie?
Yeah, I think the draft is really sloppy for them. I felt like we had a way bigger pick and ban phase. That was the day where we debuted the Brown pick against the Jays. We could just negate all the poke them down, and yeah, from there on out, if they run into us, they can run into Ryze and Braum and Corky, and then good luck.
Yeah. Where do you think their weaknesses lie?
I felt like the week we played them was they really relied on the Kalista series, and we denied it and picked champions that are good into Vayne. But I don't even think they picked Vayne that game. It was kind of a long time ago. But it feels like I think their strength is definitely the macro play. And if something goes wrong in the early game, I feel like they kind of fall apart because the macro play is where they have strengths. And I think individually they're good, but not like the strength of the team. So you just get in there, ruin their macro play, and it kind of falls apart in a way.
Yeah, I feel the same. The game that we lost, they got ahead. They had this kind of one-will combo team comp. They dive us behind our second towers, and the game was over really, really quickly. So once they get rolling, they just go into your jungle, they take the fights, they are not afraid. Feels a little bit like Unicorns of Love. They just take fights everywhere and come out ahead. Yeah, and they do it really well. So if they come out ahead, they do actually really well.
Now we'll see what the Giants can do versus them. Let's take a look at the lineup on the red side. The Giants with Werlip, Frederick, Pepinero, Adri, Godfred, and their coach Lothar. 6-6. They are alone in 4th, but they have OG, Gambit, H2K, and Roccat still to play. I do think that the Giants have a strong chance to make playoffs, and it has caught a lot of people off surprise. What's your vision on that?
I feel like when I talk with a lot of the other teams, they always count out Giants in a way because, like, personally, I feel like the wins they get in the early weeks is mostly because of Jax or some kind of cheesy, I don't want to call it cheesy, but kind of surprise, wacky play. Okay, wacky is the word. And it feels like as we progress, I feel like in the best of 5, and like as we progress now in the league, I think people are going to figure them out a bit. And especially when I think of Giants, I think of Pepinero, right? Everyone does. And when I think of Pepinero, I think of greed. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it really works out well, and it's kind of 50-50, like a wild card.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think I don't think only about Peppy. I think about all 3 lanes. Like the style that they play is they just push your wave in, and if you have a good day, then you just get the gank off from one of the lanes, shut them down really hard. But all of the lanes are pushing really, really hard or trying to get greedy. And if they are not, they have something that's super, super scaling, like an Ezreal mid lane, and, you know, just try to one-will-come you later.
Yeah. Well, actually, sometimes they remind me of the Unicorns in the Spring Split. They sometimes have wacky picks, the scaling, and then they pull victories out of nowhere with Baron steals and stuff like that. Maybe they have some of that Unicorn dust, we will see. But as we head to the casters for picks and bans, we'll hear how Echo's role on the Rift has changed since his release on 5.10.
Echo, like, I think he's better in the jungle right now because his damage was reduced, so you can't one-shot people necessarily every time he goes in. My approach is like use the W to zone people, like basically just be able to tank up a lot and soak up a lot of damage. You name it, he can do it. So, and that's something that is like unmatched and unparalleled right now in the jungle, maybe besides Rek'Sai, who can also like do map movements all the time.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Quickshot. This is Deficio. We're going to jump into game between Origen and Giants in a moment or two. We just heard Echo preferred to be in jungle. Has been played once, and it's a 12 KDA for amazing on that champion.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great jungle pick. A lot of the junglers have like just under Gragas and Rek'Sai at the moment, so we're going to have to see what's going to happen in Champ Select.
We will find out shortly. As a reminder, we're on patch 5.12. This is before some of the changes on the live client. Let's touch on what's available. Sivir still up as Ezreal and Jax taken away from Giants. Vlad and Kalista taken away from Niels and Pekka from Origen.
Okay, a little bit surprised about the Vlad ban. Even though it has been a strong pick for Pekka, I feel like you can draft some of these poke compositions that really make it difficult for Vladimir to have a big impact, but obviously that is one of the comfort picks and one of the picks Origen have used a lot. Varus is still open. We've seen that a few times for them. Sivir, of course, with Kalista being banned away. To me, it's a little bit of a no-brainer. You go for that Sivir first pick when Kalista is gone, because she also works really well in both poke compositions, but also against them. Either disengage or you engage.
So, Deficio, we're not too surprised thus far, maybe with the exception of that Vladimir. The likes of Rek'Sai, Echo, Gragas still up. Priorities for Giants is Gragas and Janna for disengage.
Yeah. Quiz time here, Trevor. With these two picks, what are Giants looking to build? We have disengage and disengage.
I really don't know. With Jace and Varus available,
I wonder.
Is it a matter of poke, Deficio?
I think it is.
What gave it away?
The problem is, Sivir has been locked in on the other side, so Origen already has a great answer coming in. Okay, Rek'Sai obviously not really the hard engaged jungler, but boosted by the Sivir is often able to move. Oh, again, we're gonna have to see what Origen gets with the last two picks. I mean, you can really easily disengage if you are Janna Gragas against the Rek'Sai and Origen as well. Potentially taking that Rise away from Whirlip, saying we expect you to run Jace Varus in the mid lane now that Ezreal has been banned. So we want to take one of these AP top laners away from you so you can run a good mix of damage.
Well, let's just touch on that Rise for a moment, because Soaz has not played it top lane, Pekka has not played it mid lane. So it'll be the first time we're seeing it in Origen's hands. We've seen Pekka playing both Varus and Jace in the past, and both of them very good performances. So we'll see if he wants to run that, or if they're going to go something a little harder engage. For Giants, 5 seconds left on the clock. Another disengage if they go with the Buster Shot Tristana.
And also fast pushing on these towers here coming in for Giants. So we have the AP top laner we mentioned just before. That is the very standard way if you want to get a Jace or Varus pick. Origen can do exactly the same, so we might just get poke versus poke in this mid lane here. And then it's going to be about, can Origen, with this Sivir ulti and the potential flank of a Rise, start the fights if they want to run and try and get to the back line. I like Twisted Fate as well against poke compositions, because you have wave clear, you have pick potential, you have split pushing, you have a lot of great things to offer that makes it tough for a poke composition unless they get really far ahead and they can just kind of ignore your split push and just start pushing up the mid lane. So I'm not expecting Diana to come in for Origen, but Twisted Fate or maybe Jace/Varus.
So we'll find out what they lock in the next couple of seconds, but this is the first time we're seeing the Tristana in Audrey's hands. It is the 9th AD carry that he has played in 13 different games. Giants as a team have actually played a whole heap of champions throughout the course of the splits, and as far as the Rumble goes for Whirlip, his previous showing was not particularly impressive. Not going to be the TF, it's going to be Diana.
Runeglaive Diana. We saw it in the NALCS. Ninja ran it, I think Shifter ran it as well in the mid lane. Simply you go Runeglaive first, and then you start building your core item after something like the Hourglass second, Abyssal Scepter we still see quite often. I will admit, I'm not 100% sold on Runeglaive Diana. Runeglaive itself as a first item, seeing as it doesn't offer any defensive stats, can make it fairly difficult for you to play the big 5-on-5 team fights, seeing as you will be fairly squishy jumping in. But at the same time, it does give you extra wave clear and some good early burst. So we have to see what Pekka can do. But it fits into what Origen is building in terms of we need to be able to engage. We expect you to run a poke composition because you have Janna Gragas as the first two picks. You have an AP top lane as well to fit in this Varus pick potentially, or the Jace. And that's why they are running so much hard engage on the side of Origen. Giants might change it up though.
And they did with a Yasuo. So we should expect X to go middle. There's multiple knockbacks, knockaways, but it's non-traditional, dare I say. And Peppy, shall we use the term that the analyst asks, used, maybe greedy? This can either work or it can go horribly wrong.
Yeah, Pepinero is the star player on Giants. And that is often great, but also sometimes a bit of a problem for them if he is playing a little bit too greedy, ends up sacrificing himself. But basically what Giants did in this pick and ban phase, they took the first 2 picks in Janna Gragas and said, we are building towards a poke composition. However, we need to be ready to change it in case Origen is drafting heavy engage. So Nautilus, the Ana, the Sivir, obviously, Giants saying we don't want to run a low mobility mid laner to line poke. We don't want to have to rely on that. Instead, we want all in as well in this Yasuo. So we're going to have this composition now where it's going to be Gragas is the only real front line for Giants, but he has to also land that knock up here or the displacement here to get the Yasuo in with the Rumble ulti. And Tristana just sitting there kind of the cleanup in the back from Adri.
It's quite an interesting team composition because all of the components...
Changing it all the time.
All of the components kind of disrupt one another. Rumble wants everyone together. Gragas and Janna split them all up. We'll take a look at the team compositions in just a second. You guys at home, jump on Twitter and let us know which Spanish mid laner do you think is going to pick up the victory. Hashtag OG win or hashtag GIA win. We're jumping onto the Rift here with the solid number 2 taking on the solid number 4. Unexpected number 4, I might add.
We've said that for 6 weeks now.
We have, but I think it's still relevant.
It is somewhat. Yamato Cannon was talking about it on the analyst desk, how whenever he's talking to other teams and players, nobody really gives Giants the credit they seem to deserve. Everyone's like, yeah, you know, we can figure them out, they seem predictable, and yet Giants are still sitting here, 6 wins so far, 4th place.
I never knew Peppy could play an instrument on stage.
Peppy can do whatever he wants. Keep in mind, this is Pepinaldo, by the way.
Pepinaldo. So after we've been serenaded, there's a reminder of how the week 1 matchup went. Not pretty for Giants.
Yeah.
But the team has come a long way, and in recent weeks, Origen has shown a few more weaknesses. We'll see whether or not Giants' very difficult to execute team composition will work out. That's how I'm going to brandish this.
Very safe to say. I mean, not a safe comp, but what you were saying was the safe name for the composition. Origen have been trying out some new things lately, especially in the pick and ban phase. There's the Ana mid now with the Rune Glaive from Xpeke as well. Something Pepinero used to run, obviously without the Smite, but he's been one of the few mid laners in Europe to play it. And I want to see how the matchup is going to go. Obviously Flask and Potions for Peke here, so we'll have a lot of extra sustain compared to Pepinero.
Yeah, we'll find out how well Peppy can carry. Also got that teleport, as you've touched on briefly. Last time we saw the flash TP mid laner was on that Oriana. It left something to be desired.
Yeah.
There was one play where he could TP in and get the shockwave.
And he TP'd into the backline as an Oriana. I mean, you don't do that. That's not how you play Oriana. And I will admit, I'm not a fan of it on the Yasuo either. I feel like you sacrifice too much one-on-one potential by not running the exhaust for himself.
On the same token, he is against a Smite mid laner, so at least until Peke gets his hands on that Rune Glaive, they're somewhat equal, if I can use that. And we see Peppy trading very effectively here at level 2.
Yeah, Yasuo has always been one of the strongest mid laners in terms of their early start in the lane, in terms of before you go back the first time. Back in when you had that old Yasuo Z matchup very often, that's also where he would like beat the Z in the start, but then after the first backer, he would start to have a bit of a harder time. It's going to be interesting again to follow it. Still the teleport, yeah, okay, you have some split pushing in that sense with the global in the late game, but exhaust is just so strong for his one-on-one potential if Pepinero wants to be a split pusher.
Yeah, well, do you see, of course, Niels being highlighted with his Sivir stats. Peppy's got Flash to hold on to. Should be able to get away from Amazing. He's going to get knocked up briefly. Does have the support of Frederick coming in a moment. Pepe's going to dash forward. He's going to throw out that Steel Tempest Hurricane, but will not follow it up. And already a little bit of pressure from Pepe. Again, just trading super aggressively, using that passive from Yasuo to block as much damage as possible.
This is obviously one of the things for Pekka. The fact he's running with Flask, he has no cloth armor yet. He could go back and get an early one just to try and trade more effective, which he did right there. So yeah, obviously when you start Flask, you got great sustain, but you are going to be fairly squishy. You don't really have any combat stats to use. Now as well, with him, he wants to go for Rune Glaive, but he also wants to get at least towards an Arm Guard, so he has some defensive stats versus Pepinero. So it's going to take a bit of time for Pekka to start scaling up, where obviously the Yasuo is always just trying to rush straight for that static shift.
Yeah, whenever you see those smite mid laners, you know they're going to take a while to catch up. Audrey gets caught out by the dredge line, rooted in place. We do see that explosive satchel pop onto Neil's head. They continue to trade back and forth. Audrey's backed away. Godfred's taken a lot of damage. Good trade by Origen's bottom lane.
Yeah, Giants disrespecting the early damage, and Nautilus can do. Even as a support, he has pretty good base damage when he pops that shield, and Miffy just stood there. Nobody touched him. Nobody tried to break the shield. Did a lot of damage to the bottom lane of Giants. A good early trade for them. It's going to be very important whenever you have these like severe lanes with a strong support who can tower dive. Look for them to keep pushing in the waves, hit like level 6, and then suddenly the jungler can move down, and you can get some easy plays. Amazing is already moving in here. Because his bottom lane is in control, he feels safer in terms of going in and deep warding in the jungle of Giants. He knows Nils and Mythic can walk up and help him. Notice how Mythic was already in the river as well.
So good team play coming out of Origen already. Reading the situation correctly. A CS advantage for Niels and Siva. Thanks in large part to Mythic with that Flash Ignite Nautilus. Do you see a small advantage for Pepe mid lane, but we've not really looked or touched top at all yet. Werlib and Soaz just continue to trade and CS both evenly at this moment in time.
Bit of a problem for Giants that at the moment there are two lanes Frederick really wants to try and gank. Either he wants to try and help his bot lane because he wants to prevent what can happen later in the game in terms of Origen setting up dives against him and take down an early tower. But he also really wants to gank this Ryze, obviously up in the top lane for himself, trying to shut down Source early on. But for now, the lane is being pushed in towards him. He just got zoned away, sorry. And will back away. Pepinero, though, is doing great. In this lane, we talked about how strong Yasuo is in the early stages of this laning phase. And Pekka is desperately trying to get some items to give him some combat stats. Already back to base twice now.
Yeah, both of these mid laners going for some laning-related items. Pepe with double Dorans, as you've mentioned, the Amp Tome, cloth armor, boots for Pepe. Gonna delay that spike. Frederick's gonna hang around in this middle lane. Can Pepe get the knock-up? Steel Tempest will not connect. Pepe is gonna dash forward. Gonna get that shield from Pale Cascade, and nothing more will follow. Frederick's playing very cheeky. He's gonna go for the body slam knockup. Last breath used by Pepe. He's got no more charges. Now Frederick's in trouble. Forced to flash. Amazing's gonna flash forward. 100 HP as Amazing's gonna throw out the Prey Seeker. No kill secured. That was close.
Very, very close here. Giants were the ones who went aggressive with the ulti. Now down the bottom lane. Werlib decided to teleport down. Nils didn't have to burn anything other than his heal. So teleport almost wasted from Giants, and they lost that trade in the mid lane as well. Look at Amazing, he's moving down bottom lane now, and a TP from Soaz.
There is one more if they need it. Mithy's flashed in for this one. Audrey's got the Eye of the Storm, and here comes Soaz from behind. Mithy is going to get exploded as he tries to pull himself to the wall. Godfred and Werlib, they decide to turn back aggressive. There's the second teleport for the Giants. And Pepe's just going to help push this wave out. So Giants, first blood goes to Audrey Tristana.
Mithy just flashing in a little bit too early. Origen were not in a position yet. Teleport was on the way from Source. Amazing was moving down the river. Just simply could not collapse together. Mithy goes down. Giants gaming with the kill with the dragon. Both teleports used though, all three I guess we can say now, on the map.
8 minutes on the clock. Giants secure their first dragon of the game. Going to deny that opportunity to Origen. Coming into this game, Origen had secured 10 of the first dragons. And of course, with Giants having that double teleport, they can throw parties in any lane every few minutes.
Sloppy play though from both teams. Pepinero TP down when the fight was already over, didn't manage to get anything. Soas an amazing moving down, and then Mythy jumping in before everyone is in position, ends up dying for it as well. That was supposed to be a 4v3 for Origen, at least for a few seconds, before Pepinero could join. In the end, though, Giants with a very small lead, and this has been a problem for Origen in the past. If they do start falling behind, they have a very hard time getting back into the game. Diana is also one of these picks that if she falls behind, she can't really do anything. You're merely a champion sitting and trying to wave clear. You need to have that assassination potential on a backline. You have to see Origen, obviously just a few hundred gold at this point.
Yeah, what an interesting dynamic. When both Origen and Giants fully embraced the poke meta in the last week, and then go completely the opposite direction this week.
But this is the awesome thing about Champ Select, how teams are now expecting the other team to run poke compositions. So they're like, okay, if you start building towards poke, we know how we want to try and change our picks so we get more engaged. And then both teams see the same thing, like, oh, we both got to change what we're doing. And now they're both running this more all-in comp. Frederick, he's on a pink ward, so he's not, well, he's spotted obviously, but his own pink he's sitting on. Amazing is waiting. So he's feeling very safe now, Frederick's like, okay, Origen does not know I'm here, because I have this pink ward, I'm just waiting for Rise to overextend. Mythy's coming as well.
Oh, 3 versus 2.
Oh, so
Giants are in trouble. The fat man's been rooted. With the equalizer in place, Frederick will get some damage, but it will not be enough. Soaz is being burned down. Amazing gets a knock up on Willem, trying to get Soaz. He's flashed for it, but will not get the kill. 2-0 for Origen.
Origen were just waiting around. They spotted the Gragas moving in. They had the Rek'Sai sitting nearby from Amazing to see where the movements were going. And Frederick, again, he felt so secure. He's like, hey, I have a ping ward here. I'm not spotted. I can go for a gang. And Source just walks in and baits it. Now bottom lane, Adri instantly disengages. Peke's here, though.
Comes Peke. He's going to get the Crescent Strike. Godfrey throws the Monsoon. Peke is going to Lunar Rush forward. Moonfall was not necessarily the greatest, but the roam from OG defend the tower and blow Summoner Spell.
Blow it. I wonder if Origen could have gotten more there. Peke didn't want to wait for his Q to be ready again. Adri, no heal, no flash, trying to defend the tower, taking a lot of damage. Origen really turning on the power. Everything started with spotting the jungler top lane, and then you have the global of a Rek'Sai. So Origen knew exactly where Frederick was on the map, killed him, and knew they could then make a play on the bottom lane. Great use of the information and great use of a Rek'Sai from Amazing.
Brilliant shot calling from Origen to get themselves ahead in gold, ahead in kills, and now ahead in pressure. Something you also witnessed in that bottom lane is some of the lack of wave clear from Giants. It's relying on Adri's auto attacks, very short range from Pepinero, and we see Pepe start at BF Sword, so that's even a step away from, dare I say, traditional item build,
yeah,
Yasuo?
A step away from his own ability to fast push in the lanes with the static shift. I haven't seen a BF Sword start on a Yasuo in a very, very, very long time, but Pepinero is one of these mid laners who likes to go with his own kind of builds. Very often, and obviously summoner spells. I mean, Pepinero likes to do it his own way, and Giants did trust in him. Not really a fan of it here from Pepinero, and as you mentioned, Giants, their composition as well, if they start falling behind, when you have so much all-in with this Yasuo pick and so little safe wave clear, it becomes so difficult because Origen can just keep setting up dives and quick rotations with this Sivir as well.
This time round, Frederick's nearby. Amazing and Soaz look to engage. Equalizer comes out and Frederick knocks Amazing under the tower. Whirlip overheats and sinks Amazing for a reply kill. Adri, he's actually rocket jumped forward. Niels is the one that's been exhausted. Adri forced to flash defensively. Niels now flashes aggressively. Auto attack after auto attack. Summoning heal comes down. Mythy goes in. He manages to get the mines out, but the boomerang secures the kill. Here comes a teleport. Pepe's coming from the middle lane. He's looking for Niels. He will not find him.
Second one.
Teleport. Whirlip wants to play. A new challenger arises, and he's not successful.
Giants, your teleports are so uncoordinated. Pepinero comes in first. He dies. Then Whirlip is like, okay, I'm a few seconds late. I'm going to join now. Ends up dying as well. Origen gets so many kills for this. Look at the player cam here. Pepinero, he's not happy.
Cannot blame him. 0-1-0. Origen proving one useful teleport is greater than 2 suboptimal teleports. And Origen grabbed themselves a tower and a 3,000 gold lead. fantastic start to this game from Origen. And Peck has picked up his Runeglaive as well. So Diana has just slowly getting closer to becoming activated.
But this is exactly what Pekka wants. Just farm. Just farm that mid lane over and over and over. Pepinero left the lane twice now to teleport away. Meaning that Pekka got the CS lead, he got the mid tower down as well. Basically, he didn't have to do anything for it. Skirmish is safer. So if Pekka wants to be a split pusher and then join his team later, if Origen wants to 1-3-1, he's gonna be super strong on this Diana. She's great in one-on-ones. You have the skirmishes again. You're not against an exhaust on the side of Pepinero, so I don't think he can stand toe-to-toe with the Diana later on. Let's see, bottom lane. After we had the gank top lane, so we know 2 guys, or 4 people, sorry, are busy up there. Now, engage from Origen. Obviously, this is just a 2v2. I want to see the teleports when they're coming in. Notice how Whirlip is in a position to TP, but Pepinero's already using his. Here joins Soas. Whirlip didn't use it yet before now.
So late.
So late. I mean, right here, if you're Giants, what you're calling is basically TP bot, TP bot. That's what Adri and Godfred is calling. And both the guys have to react instantly. Either you don't do it, or both of you guys do it at the same time. Ends up being Whirlip just coming in 3-4 seconds later. And obviously not being able to do anything.
So while we were in that replay, Giants did manage to take up the bottom turret, but Niels replied with the top turret. Giants, however, should be securing Dragon number 2. Looks to be secured here by Frederick. I saw Peke hanging out in the tri-bush, but he opted not to engage. Catch a quick glimpse up top. Niels and Mithy shoving the wave into the inner turret. And again, strong lead here for Origen. Whirlip, he's going to get dove.
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier, how Origen can just dive around. They're going to get him.
He's down. Too easy.
This is what we talked about, how if you start falling behind against comms with like Sivir and Nautilus and so on, it's so easy to set up these tower dives and these fast pushes with the Sivir and then have the Nautilus just go in first. Land the CC. Origen. Simple setup. And Whirlip not having a great game so far.
Origen showing the European LCS what it means to group effectively with Sivir. Moment Niels had some levels and some free time, pushed it in, 4 towers to 1. Also, I'd like to point out that Soaz, 4-0-1 on Rise. He's going to be a terror to deal with all of the utility Sivir's going to provide.
Who cares about Rise scaling?
I do. A lot.
And you should. Monster game coming in for Soas. Peke as well, despite not being part of anything, just able to sit and farm. You can see him already down the bottom lane. He's already been switching to the side lane, so now you just put your Sivir and you're supporting the mid lane. That means Amazing and Mithy very easily can move together and get deep vision and start roaming down to these lanes if Giants are overextending for farm.
So Whirlip, this is the second time he's played Rumble this split, and the last time he did, he went 1-5-2. It was not a fantastic performance. I think this team composition is even more difficult for that Rumble to work in. Scraggus and Janna and Tristan all want to get rid of everybody in front of you. And he's down such a massive amount.
And Giants
the opponent team
so badly wants to 5-on-5 team fight. Again, we keep mentioning this teleport from Pepinero. Rumble is not a strong one-on-one split pusher either himself. He wants to be part of team fights. That's what Giants can do with this composition. The problem is, you lost your outer turrets, and Origen are not looking to let you get a 5-on-5 straight team fight. No, they're gonna keep 1-3-1 split pushing you, Source in one lane, Pekka in the other one, and then they can determine when to move between the lanes and set up these quick tower dives or pop a Sivir ulti and get a pick before the fight even starts.
And all of that's enabled by Niels, who, just as an update, between 10 and 20 minutes actually has the highest amount of kills out of anybody. Pekka is going to be in trouble here. Going to get 3-manned by Giants. Pepe started the TP, but I believe cancelled it. And we'll go back to that point. Between 10 and 20, Niels has more kills than any other player, and Mithy more assists. Obviously, because they hold hands often and work together to secure those objectives.
One of the strongest dual lanes we have here in Europe, but Pekka overextending himself. Origen had only 1 lane push up, that was his own, so easy game for Giants, but see, nice wind wall coming in and getting a TP from Source. So Pekka here needs to be a bit careful next time when you do split push. Talk about that after, because Sivir ulti's popped and we're going in.
On the hunt comes out. There's the depth charge. A flash away from Adri. The boomerang blade doesn't connect, nor does the steel tempest knock up. Giants successfully run away. It's the weirdest line I think I'm going to say. And Origen, they defend their mid-outer turret.
Took a lot of damage though, again for a fairly unnecessary death on Peke. When you do split push, you need at least 2 of the lanes pushed up at the same time. So if someone goes and kills you in one lane, you can get something in the other lane. In this case, the Origen was sitting at their own towers basically at mid and top lane. Peke was just all the way to tier 2 tower. So mistake from Origen, Giants got a kill for it, didn't manage to get anything else.
Okay, we're 20 minutes in. Giants 2 dragons to 0, but look at the CS differences in the top lane. 10, 15 down for Soaz and about 30 ahead for Niels. Amazing goes a little deep, but the one from Giants is really there to punish him. And as it stands, Giants are falling further behind. It's now 5,000 gold.
And Pepinero, this super slow build here, not rushing that static shift, so he doesn't have any proper crit at the moment. He doesn't have the static shift as well.
He's sitting on a lot of gold though.
Yeah, he must be, because again, he hasn't gone back for a while. But this is a very slow build for him. Mithy and Nils now might get jumped on.
So tower was secured up top in favor of Giants. It was only the second. But Peke replies down bottom. We see a lot of that money has been spent. Infinity Edge and Avarice Blade. So a little bit of damage, but maybe too little too late.
So once you get your status shift completed now, obviously it's going to be the same as before in terms of your team fight damage. These are the 2 items you're aiming for. And Pepinero just had 1,550 gold once he went back the first time. That's why he went for that BF sword for himself. Now, we'll be hitting 2 item spikes soon. I still don't think once Peke gets an hourglass that there's a whole lot Pepinero can do in that one-on-one. I want to see it happen. This is obviously not a matchup we see very often. That's a pin 4. Just recalled on it.
Giants just missed that one.
Don't tell them.
It's a secret. So unfortunately for Giants, they are now left with 1 inner turret remaining in the middle lane. We've mentioned that Giants do not have the strongest of wave clear. And Origen, I think you've got some great tower diving capabilities with Sivir and Nautilus Rise, for example. And there's almost an hourglass for Peke. Diana with hourglass is one of the most frustrating things to deal with.
For now, though, we just wait for Dragon to respawn. It could be one of the chances for Giants to get a 5-on-5 team fight. We mentioned how that's what they're really aiming for in this game here with this Yasuo pick. Remember as well, teleport, he can always join in, but he needs to be there when the fight starts, because he needs to be there when the knockoff comes in from Frederick on this Gragas or maybe the Janna Tornado. He cannot join in way too late. Origen just gets a completely free Dragon.
Uncontested with the exception of that equalizer. We see the body slam flash just to get out alive from Frederick. Werlib is in a little bit of trouble. Gonna start overheating with the flame spitter, and Adri has red buff. Has you summon a heal for this. Gets the slow on Peke. There's no hourglass yet. Peke is gonna flash away defensively. Giants have lost themselves up. They're split. Adri is down. Peke, Luna Rush, and the Crescent Strike. Pepinero wants to come in from behind, but Peke's got 2. Soaz is now going to look for Frederick and Godfrey. Soaz is going to get caught out, but again, 3v1, and Origen are now going to surround Giants. Giants are just scattering to the wind. Dredge line connects, Frederick's knocked up, and Niels, hook, line, sinker for 1 more. Deficio at 10 minutes, Origen had 200 gold lead. At 20 minutes, Giants had a 5k gold lead. Now, they have a 6k gold lead.
I just don't understand how Giants wants to play the fights here. Dragon starts, Giants move down with 4 members, use a Rumble ulti at first, and then they go in like 1 by 1. Pepinero is still split pushing at that time. And he joins in super late when the fight is basically already over because Giants is now chasing multiple members. I mean, very, very uncoordinated game for Giants when it comes to summoner spells, when it comes to team fights. And Origen is just punishing them every single time.
And it's a team composition we said that was going to be exceptionally difficult to pull off. If Giants are not in sync, if Giants are not playing as a unit, it doesn't work. And they don't have that play from behind or comeback mechanic that we like to talk about. So unless Origen really get caught up by a wombo combo,
that's basically it, yeah.
It looks like Origen have the tools they need to close this out with the diving, with the wave clear, with the tower pushing. And there's still only that 1 turret remaining.
Yeah, remember Origen as well You have the severe spell shield. That's gonna stop if there's like an ulti flying in from Frederick to try and get that displacement to pop that Yasuo ulti. Peke, of course, is gonna dive the backline of Giants himself. And so as long as he's not positioned next to Nils, it's going to be so difficult for Giants to pull off a wombo combo by any means, because Origen has the map control. Yeah. There's never a reason for Origen to face check anything. First of all, you have a Rek'Sai, so you're going to spot people if they're moving around even in the dark. And then you have the map control, you have the split pushing advantage. There should never be a way for Origen to get in a situation where they have to face check.
And of course, Origen can Baron bait. They've got all the vision in the world. They've got the Sivir and Nautilus for mega engage. You can see the Baron stats slightly in favor of Origen, albeit being a little later for their first Baron. And as if on cue, vision control rests with the blue team. Pepinero is very far away. An early equalizer once more from Werlib. No El Bandito steal today. Frederick body slams over. Werlib will get taken out by Niels as a flash from Soaz will be setting up another kill. 3 members of Giants down and Pepinero's running for his life. Windwall comes out. You've got damage, but not enough, my friend. Baron and 4 down. Origen looking at the base.
Really just simple play from Origen. Peke now 600 total kills in the LCS. What a legend. He's been here since the start.
Seems you can teach old dogs new Runeglaive tricks. Peke really showing up in recent weeks. Had some interesting damage stats. I think it was weeks 1 through 4. He was responsible for around 25% of his team's damage, and last week it was cranked up to around 40.
When you
what a great Pope
champion,
Pope helps. But he had a great Vladimir game, right. Super aggressive early as well. When somebody needs to step up, Origen have the depth of ability that one of their team members will.
Yeah, that's the thing. Origen is not a team that plays around the mid lane. It's about the side lanes, and it's about what Amazing can do as a jungler for the first 20 minutes, almost every single game. The fact that you then can still rely on someone like Peke to always do well in his laning phase, always apply pressure in his laning phase, and help out with vision control is such a key thing, because once we get to these team fights, he can really start becoming a big factor. And obviously, when he is playing poke, we see him be more impactful in the early to mid game as well. So Origen have different carries to play around. It's been one of the problems for Giants all split, how it's been a lot about Pepinero, sometimes Werlib, but that's been about it. I mean, we haven't really seen Adri being a big carry for Giants.
Very rarely. 1 or 2 games where he stepped up. However, it's mostly because their opponents focus Pepinero so heavily. Pepinero's flash TP Yasuo has the support of at least some of the crowd, but it's going to need a whole lot more. Werlib once again with an early equalizer, and Origen have already disengaged. On the hunt has been used from Niels. Origen successfully evade Giants' weak engage.
Yeah, trying to look for some way to reach the backline of Origen, but there's just no easy way for them. And with this Baron buff, with the split push Diana, we mentioned her time and time again in the skirmishes. Origen can also just dive if they want to. There's the threat at least, which is enough to force Giants to back.
Oi, you mean Peke? Like he dived Werlib? Totally dropped him. Peke still has Hourglass available. Gonna look for Adri. He's gonna flash forward. Pale Cascade doesn't connect. Adri forced to defensively flash. While all of that's going on, Origen have got the inhibitor turret. They've also got Frederick. El Bandito's down. Pepe's got Niels, but he may not be able to get the kill because the spell shield and the auto attacks keep Niels alive. While all that was going on, Peke got his 2nd solo kill under the turret of the bottom lane. Origen 5 against 1. Now knocking on the Nexus turrets. 17-3, 28 minutes. The conga line of minions move their way in. Origen are looking for their 10th victory of the summer split. And they obliterate Giants.
This game here, such a good game for Peke to play the Runeglaive or Diana, because he got to sit and scale in the mid lane in the start. He got to complete 1 and 2 items. The Runeglaive first, the Skirmisher Saber obviously, and then get the hourglass second, and then he could just slowly say, okay, I'm feeling ready now. I'm going to move down to a side lane. I'm going to start split pushing. Nobody's going to be able to challenge me here because nobody from Giants could stop him. And we saw in the end, you know, double kill once he got super fed. And honestly, Giants in the early to mid game in this game here looked so uncoordinated. We have talked about how they're inconsistent before. We've mentioned how, you know, they look great one day and they look pretty weak the next day.
Yeah.
This was still a whole new level of problems for Giants. I've never seen them be this uncoordinated.
On the same token, Origen looked fantastic. They were incredibly decisive. They pushed as a unit when they had the opportunity to, and with 10 wins now, they're one step closer to guaranteeing that playoff position. The bottom of the table is getting more and more congested. Giants, 6 wins, 7 losses.
Tied with Unicorns now because they won earlier, so all these teams are so close to each other, even though Giants have been sitting as number 4 for multiple weeks now.
Yeah.
They're not guaranteed that spot in the playoffs. Obviously, if you look at the schedule, this is one of those games where you don't expect Giants to win it because it's against one of the top 3 teams. It's going to be more about what can they do when they face the teams around them in the standings. But still, this was not acceptable, in my opinion.
I really agree. Werle blocked in Rumble. It's the second time we've seen this split on that champion. It was not a great performance. Yes, he fell behind, and there was limited wave clear. But you think of every equalizer that was cast, the last 4 attempts, trying to steal a dragon, trying to steal a baron, a slightly awkward one in the mid lane. I never felt that his equalizers were as impactful as we've seen from other Rumbles in the European LCS.
I think just overall, even if you just ignore the champions, they were just a misplays as a team for Giants.
A lot of misplays indeed. 10-3 for Origen. And we're going to head over to the LCS to take a look at Origen, who are 1 game away from locking in a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Well, that didn't all go as planned for Giants in the game, but it started at picks and bans. We had some interesting things again. That Diana coming up, we had seen that a couple times. And Yasuo with the teleport, not the Orianna with the teleport this time. And you were quite judgmental in the pick and ban phase.
Like, I think what Origen did was really smart. They picked up really strong picks early on. While I think, I take a look at the draft that just Giants did. First pick Janna, first pick Gragas. There's not much value in both. Rek'Sai is open, is like, you basically balance out the Gragas with the Rek'Sai. They're like top tier. And then the Janna, very counterable in the bot lane. And we saw the response in the shape of Nautilus, and it didn't really feel like when they had the Ryze Rek'Sai, they had strong lanes everywhere. Maybe in mid lane they could have counterpicked better with the, but instead they went for the Yasuo, which made little sense to me. Sure, they had knockups, but
yeah,
I
I felt
like it.
the beginning of the pick and ban phase actually with Gragas and Janna indicated like poke. Wow, it's getting real loud.
Might be Fnatic H2K setting up.
Yeah, I think that in the beginning they already showed that they want to go for a poke comp, and then they swing over to the Yasuo. That was kind of perplexed me, but if I looked at it more closely, I actually didn't dislike it that much in the end. I think that they had a lot of potential to actually get the Wombo combo on the backline and instantly kill them, especially with picks like Sivir and Ryze. Like, if you get them one time a knock-up, and you can underlay that with the Rumble ultimate and Yasuo on them and then put a wind wall down, they should die, and then afterwards you run into your Janna and you're fine. So yeah, they didn't execute it, and so it just looked weak in the end. And it was an Origen show.
It looked weak. Origin's show started at the beginning because not only did they get those picks, but you were commenting on the fact that they utilize them very good in the early game. Let's get one of the replays of the early game up on the screen where Ryze ends up getting a double kill, which is not what you want as the enemy team.
I feel definitely this replay really highlights what I meant in the what we talked about earlier, was their macro play. I feel like Origen is a team that always does something on the map. It really rarely stands still. And this kind of a play where the support roams top lane is very rare to see. You basically see like roams into mids, but rarely this kind of a play.
Yeah, and I think there was no counterplay much set up from Giants. Either way, you want to dive the bottom side if the support is starting to roam on the top side, but they just didn't have it on their radar, and so got punished really hard with the Mythi rotation. So yeah, good job by Origen, and afterwards they were like 5k ahead. Not especially after this play, but just over the game, and just took fights everywhere. We see the double TP in the bottom side, and yeah, Giants just not playing it perfectly, and Origen just starting to steamroll over the enemy, which is easy with the power picks that they had.
I feel like we talked about the Origen, like how they are good in the macro play, but also I think how the greediness didn't pay off. Yasuo with teleport is something that hurts your lane, but you're supposed to get something back with the teleport with some kind of play. But the greediness didn't pay off, and you can quickly see that Pepitnero does not do so much on the map after that.
Yeah, definitely. He tried to teleport in there with the infamous double teleport at an awkward timing, so it didn't work out for them this time around. And with Origen's win, it's time for the other two top teams to go at it in our next match, where H2K will try and hand Fnatic their very first loss of the split. While we're away, load up LLesports.com to see what Reckless has to say about tomorrow's game of the week, where, spoiler alert, there is blood to be spilled. We'll be right back.
We're jumping onto the Rift here with the solid number 2 taking on the solid number 4. Here comes a teleport. Pepe's coming from the middle lane. He's looking for Niels. He will not find him.
Second
Taking
one.
teleport.
Yeah, nice.
Woo! Have lost themselves up. They're split. Adri is down. Peke, Luna Rush, and the Crescent Strike. They've also got Frederick. El Bandito's down. Pepe's got Niels, but he may not be able to get the kill. And they obliterate Giants.